I've had my RCF Evox 12s for a year now. So in this video, I just want to talk about some of the things I like about these speakers, some of the things I dislike, and even though this speaker hasn't had like a major updates in aesthetics or functionality in 10 years, why I'd be hesitant to actually trade this for a different, more modern speaker like the Evolve 70. Hey everybody, how's it going? Daryl here, welcome to the channel. Before I dive into this update of the Evox 12s, let me just do a recap of what makes a column array and why they are so popular with DJs right now. Because a column array is the way it is because it has like a subwoofer on the bottom, then it has a pole that connects to the top speaker, and it's like an array of small little speakers that have like a wide sound dispersion, but it offers full range sound, it looks clean, and it's like easier to transport and set up. So I have a full review of the RCF Evox 12s. I'll have a link in the description below. And I share some of the reasoning like why I purchased those speakers, but let me just do a brief recap. So before buying the RCFs, I was using the Evolve 50, a very popular speaker for mobile DJs and bands. It's another type of column array that is like extremely portable, and I was pretty content using it, although I did find myself at some gigs where I was needing a little bit more headroom, a little bit more volume. And so when I decided to try out having a white DJ setup instead of opting for another set of Evolve 50s but in white, I decided I would try out these RCFs and see what the grass was like on the other side. I made the joke that I bought them because the guys at RCF at their booth gave me this hat at MEX. And I also have an entire video showing why I got the Evox 12s over the much more modern Maui 44G2. A big part of it was the portability and the aesthetic. I liked that it was a little bit more portable than the Maui. And to be honest, my first choice would have been a bigger Evolve 50, and at the time it didn't exist. And I'm glad I did because I got to have a full year of having a nice white DJ setup before Electro Voice released their Evolve 70 and 90, which I will talk about in just a little bit. At first, it was hard to transition from the Evolve 50 to the Evox 12s because the Evox 12 is bigger and not as streamlined to set up. Because the Evolve 50 has like a magnetic top and pole. So you just plop it in and it's super easy. And it has like a 44-pound 12-inch subwoofer opposed to the Evox 12's 15-inch subwoofer that weighs like over 60 pounds. But instead of having like that magnetic pole and very streamlined Evolve setup, you have like a traditional speaker pole, and then you have to put your top on top of it, and then you have to plug it in. So you have like an extra cable. And you have to do something about cable management or it's just going to be dangling there. So that was not my favorite. But I found that there was some value in that because with a more traditional top on top of a traditional pole, the pole was height adjustable. So if I found myself on a stage, I could have my top be a little bit lower. Otherwise, I could have it be a bit higher. And with the Evolves, if I had to like point my sound in different directions, I'd find myself picking it up by the handles, by the subwoofer, and awkwardly shuffling it to the point where I wanted it to go. Because even though it has a wide sound dispersion, you sometimes need your sound to go in different directions. For instance, I had this wedding where guests were coming from one way behind the DJ booth, and then guests were actually seated like to the complete other side of the DJ booth. So I could just simply twist my speakers and point them where they needed to be, and the subs just stayed the same, and I didn't have to do too much work. And I really like that. And the Evox 12s, like the integrated controls, are very simple. It's not as nice as the Evolve 50. Like I said, this speaker hasn't had like a V2 ever made, and it has like a one single input. It has no Bluetooth, it has no RCA cable. And for like very simple applications, sometimes I just take one Evolve 50 and I could connect my phone to it. You really can't do that with the RCF, so that's kind of a bummer. And earlier this year, I made a video of like why I'm not getting the Evolve 70s, even though it in theory was what I was originally wanting. A big part of it is that the Evox 12s still sound good. They still do the job they're supposed to. And when you buy a premium speaker like that, it's meant to last longer than a year. So the Evolve 70 really is a cross grade with a few like little enhancements. I also considered selling the Evox 12s to fund a purchase of the Evolve 70s or 90s. And a huge part is When you sell a speaker, you're only going to get like 50 to 70% of your original purchase price. And there really are no used Evolve 70s or 90s. They're just barely starting to like ship to stores. So that's a potential like $1,000 to $2,000 hit just to do like a cross grade with a few moderate upgrades and maybe sound quality, streamlined workflow. But then I thought to myself, like, wouldn't it be nice if like Evie or some store was like, Daryl, we want you using these new Evolves. We will trade you your RCFs for a set of Evolves with no financial loss on your end. We'll just do a 1-to-1 trade. At first I thought that would be ideal and I would do that in a heartbeat. Probably would make sense as a content creator so I have like another product to review. But as a business owner, I just thought to myself, like, would I want to switch to like the Evolve 70s or even the Maui 44 G2s? While those speakers may be more modern and have like a little bit more streamlined workflow, I really do like that you can spin the head of the speaker on your traditional pole. And I do like that you can adjust the height of the pole. Those are things you can't do with the Maui series or the Evolve line. So I don't know, maybe I would just for the content creator angle. So I'll cross that bridge if it comes my way. Otherwise, I'm probably just going to stick with the Evox 12s. And I have to also mention this. The Evox 12 is a two-way speaker, and there are other speakers that are three-way where they have a dedicated driver handling the mids and the highs, while the Evox 12 only has a single driver to handle the mids and highs. It doesn't have a tweeter. I know there's been like the huge controversy between two-way speakers and three-way speakers. That doesn't really bother me. I'm not really feeling like I'm missing out on clarity or any sonic range. The Evox 12s, they can handle the full frequency, and I think it sounds fine. I guess that's personal preference though. There's a lot of different places within your sound stack where you can like adjust the EQ. In theory, you could like put a different speaker on top and like use the sub with that. But I just don't think that makes much sense because the Evox 12 is designed to be a singular unit. It wasn't designed to be swapping out the pieces, and you might not be getting like enough power to your top. And so I personally wouldn't do it. But like, how have the Evox 12s held up over here, especially being white? Being heavier and bulkier and being made of like mostly wood, I have started to notice that the tops have like a few like small dings. They are a light wood, so it's not very noticeable right now. Yeah, I'm noticing some marks on the edges, but just taking a wipey cleans that off pretty good. I have used these speakers with cold sparklers, and they still are white. They're not really a cream color. They are still a white color. So overall, they still are in good shape. I've been able to transport them pretty nicely, and the bottoms do have some dings, but nobody's looking at the bottoms of my speakers, so I'm not too worried about that. They still sound great. When I first got these speakers, I didn't know this, but to get like the most out of them and the most volume, because it has a little knob in the middle that for a lot of speakers, you kind of just keep that right in the middle. But for these, you have to crank it all the way to the right. So I guess 5 o'clock to the max. I wasn't doing that at first, and I wasn't getting as much volume as I thought I should have been, and I was like starting to peak in other redline in other areas of my sound chain. Like my mixer was like at its max, my external mixer was at its max, and it was starting to distort and not sound good, but it was not very loud. But as soon as I turned that up, I noticed that I wasn't like peaking because it has like a little red LED to let you know if you are redlining. And I was able to get great clear sound that was much louder, and I was starting to feel the boom of that 15-inch sub. And something I do miss about the Evolves is that their top is kind of at an angle, which is not conducive to putting something on top. I mean, I've had guests literally try to put their drink on top of an Evolve and it just slides right off. But the Evox 12 is just completely flat, so it's more inviting for guests to set their drink on top, which is not my favorite. And the pole does come into two parts to get extra tall, but I took off the extender and I only used this one at all of my gigs. And this gets sufficiently tall, so eliminates a step in the setup. In my original review, I noted that this like suitcase handle design is clever, but it's really one that I don't use a lot. I also want to say that these bags and covers have held up exceptionally well. They're really well built. Having white speakers, I really wanted to have white cables, so I did get these from NLFX Professional. They are a little bit thicker gauge than the ones that came with the speaker, and unfortunately that means I couldn't use these with these cables, and NLFX Pro doesn't really have anything else. So I do have to use these gravity clips for my cable management. But yeah, overall, a year of owning these speakers, they still look good, they still sound good, and I plan on continuing to use them. And so even though it hasn't really had a major upgrade in 10 years, I still think it is a great speaker to be using in 2025, 2026. It has good volume, it has good aesthetic, and it sounds pretty good. It's more streamlined than a traditional top and sub. And while the workflow isn't as streamlined as some of the other column arrays on the market, I've gotten used to it, and yeah, I can't really complain. But whatever the case, those are my thoughts on the Evox 12s. What are your thoughts? Let me know down below, and please smash like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.